Margaret Corla, Minister, I'd like to ask you if you will prioritise the removal of VAT from defibrillators following the agreement by the EU Finance Ministers to amend Council Directive 2006/112/EC.
Thank you, Deputy. The EU Commission published a proposal on the reform of VAT rates in January 2018, which would allow Member States more flexibility in how they apply VAT rates. The compromise text agreed in ECOFIN in December has been amended significantly in comparison to the original proposals that the EU Parliament will once again be consulted for their opinion. While not providing for as much flexibility as the original proposal, it still provides greater scope for Member States to make changes when it comes to setting VAT rates. So, assuming the Parliament issues its opinion on the proposal, the Council will then formally adopt the directive. I understand that the Slovenian Presidency wrote to the European Parliament looking for an early response. I expect this response will be due in the coming months, and then following the Council formally adopting the directive, it will be published in the official journal of the European Union and will enter into force on the 20th day following that of its publication. After this, we'll then consider what our options are with regard to VAT rates. So I hope, Deputy, that we'll get an answer back from the Parliament in relation to this proposal, I hope in the coming months, and then after that I know the Council will act to try and implement this quickly.
Thank you, Minister, and it's encouraging to see that this is finally progressing and hopefully will end in a positive result. As you're probably aware, approximately 5,000 people die in this country every year from sudden cardiac death. Back about 14-15 years ago, when I used to train an under-13 soccer team, I witnessed one of these defibrillators saving a young person's life on the pitch. So I'm fully aware of the benefits of having them in as many locations as possible. And as recently as 3 weeks ago, we were down in Glounthaune, County Cork, where Stryker Medical Devices Company sponsored 3 defibrillators kitted out in old telephone booths along the new greenway that we're installing between Carrytool and Glanmire. So we're fully aware of the importance of these machines. It's important that we get them out to as many areas as possible. Could I just ask you, Minister, perhaps to expand on precisely what process must happen on the EU side before we see the introduction of these VAT changes?
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thanks, Deputy, and very much aware of the really important role which defibrillators play in sporting and voluntary clubs all over our country, and I see them in so many clubs that I go into. So just in terms of what will happen, so firstly, the Parliament have to come back with an opinion on the decision that has been made by ECOFIN, which is by the Finance Ministers. When they come back with that opinion, it is then considered by ECOFIN, and at that point then the final decision is made on the matter, and then it then will be, as I said, published in the Journal of the European Union. So that is the procedure that is ahead, and I very much hope it can be concluded quickly.
And just again, Minister, referring to your own response, if you wouldn't mind clarifying specifically, you mentioned that the current proposal isn't perhaps as flexible as the original proposal. And again, look, I'm not fully aware or au fait with what has happened previously. If you could just maybe expand on why it isn't as flexible as whatever original proposal was tabled. And secondly, I'm aware that in the context of the negotiations around this question at EU level, a list of supplies to which a reduced VAT rate can be applied is to be increased, and members will also be allowed to make some supplies subject to 0% rate. And I think that the emphasis here is going to be on issues regarding improving the environment, public health and the digital transition. If you could just have a word on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So the reduced areas of flexibility refer to 2 new limitations that will be on Member States, and they are included in the 3rd annex of the current proposal. The first limitation will limit Member States to applying a 0 rate to no more than 7 vatable categories, and the second limitation will limit Member States to using a maximum of 24 categories that a reduced rate can be applied to. So in other words, it will be setting a floor of no more than 7 and then a ceiling of 24 categories. So it will be just the kinds of goods and services to which lower rates can be applied to. That's the area of reduced flexibility. And then, you made reference then as to whether these VAT rates can then be applied to the kind of changes and technologies that are needed for a lower carbon future. They can indeed be, but that will then depend on the decisions that individual member state governments make.
For 50.